Ethan Cross had never felt smaller in his life. The moment his shuttle landed on Velara, the alien world took his breath away. The air shimmered with color, soft lights moving through the sky like ribbons of glass. Tall towers of crystal reached high into the clouds, glowing with slow pulses of energy. Even the ground beneath his boots hummed gently as if alive. It was beautiful, but it wasn't home. He had come to Velara for work. After years of struggling on Earth, living in tiny apartments and fixing old machines for pennies, Ethan wanted a fresh start. When the Galactic Union announced interspecies employment, humans like him were given a rare chance to travel beyond the stars. Most went as traders, translators, or soldiers. Ethan? He signed up as a maintenance technician. Not the most glorious job, but it was something. His first few days were rough. The Serath, the native species of Velara, were tall, elegant beings. Their bodies were covered in faint light markings that moved across their skin like rivers of silver. Their eyes glowed softly, and their voices carried a strange melody when they spoke. To Ethan, they looked like walking stars. They were graceful, intelligent, and calm. He felt like a rough stone among jewels. Everywhere he went, the Serath watched him with polite curiosity but kept their distance. They didn't insult him, but they didn't welcome him either. When Ethan tried to speak their language, they smiled gently and replied in perfect English, as if reminding him he didn't need to try. That hurt a little more than it should have. His main job was simple: repairing power lines, cleaning energy conduits, and keeping the maintenance systems running. He wore his old Earth uniform and carried a human-made tool belt, which looked almost primitive compared to the sleek, floating devices the Serath used. He often felt like a caveman among gods. One afternoon, after repairing a damaged conduit near the city's edge, Ethan sat down on a crystal ledge, watching the sunset. The skies of Velara turned from gold to violet, then to a deep, glowing blue. He could see faint stars beginning to appear above the horizon. He thought about Earth, the smell of rain, the chatter of people, the noise of old cities. He missed it all. Even the chaos felt comforting compared to the quiet perfection of this place. Here, everyone moved with purpose. No one laughed loudly. No one joked. It was peaceful, yes, but it felt empty. Sometimes he caught his reflection in the shining walls and wondered if the Serath saw him as strange or dirty. His hands were calloused from years of mechanical work, his hair always messy, his clothes a little worn. Among these flawless beings, he felt painfully human, imperfect in every way. Still, he worked hard. If they wouldn't talk to him, he'd let his efforts speak for him. He fixed things others ignored, cleaned places no one visited, and volunteered for late-night repairs. Maybe someday they'd see that humans weren't useless, but inside, loneliness ate at him. Every night he returned to his small quarters, a simple room of smooth stone and soft light. He'd eat alone, talk to no one, and stare out his window at the glowing city. Sometimes he spoke to himself just to hear a human voice. "You're doing fine, Ethan," he'd whisper. "You're doing your best." Then he'd sigh because he wasn't sure he believed it. Yet something about Velara kept him curious. The air felt alive. The city's light had rhythm, like a heartbeat beneath the planet's surface. The Serath often mentioned the core, the great source of energy that kept their world alive, but no human had ever seen it. They said it was sacred, alive in some way only the Serath could understand. Ethan didn't think much of it then. He was just a worker, not a scientist or scholar. But one evening, while repairing an energy relay near the central tower, he felt a strange warmth spread through the ground beneath him. The lights around him flickered, not in danger, but like they were responding. He froze. For a moment, the energy patterns shifted, forming symbols he didn't understand. Then everything returned to normal. Ethan shook his head, thinking it was just exhaustion. He packed his tools and returned to his quarters, unaware that far above him in the control halls of Velara, a group of Serath overseers had seen the same flicker in their readings. One of them, Alarin, watched the data carefully. Her silver eyes narrowed as she replayed the footage. The energy shift had been small, but unmistakable, and it had started exactly when the human touched the conduit. Alarin leaned back in silence. The humans were simple creatures, or so everyone thought. But something about this one was different. Something the core had recognized. Down below, Ethan fell asleep with no idea that his lonely, ordinary life had just begun to change. Because the next morning, the Serath would come for him and nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning began like any other. Ethan woke up early, stretched, and rubbed the sleep from his tired eyes. The light that filled his room was soft and silver, coming from the glowing walls of Velara's city dome. He made himself a quick breakfast and prepared for another long day of work, tightening bolts, replacing panels, checking systems. Same routine. But before he could even leave his quarters, the door slid open with a low hum. A tall seraph stood there, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight on water. She wore a silver robe, the mark of a high overseer. Ethan had never seen her this close before. "Human Ethan," she said in a calm, musical voice. "You are requested in the high chamber." Ethan blinked in surprise.
The high chamber?
"There must be a mistake. I'm just maintenance staff." Her expression didn't change. "There is no mistake. Follow me." He hesitated for a moment but obeyed. His heart raced as he followed her through the shining corridors. The Serath around them paused to look, some with curiosity, others with unease. Humans didn't belong in the high chamber. It was where great decisions were made, where only the most skilled minds worked. When they arrived, the doors opened soundlessly. Inside was a vast hall made entirely of living crystal. The walls pulsed with soft light, and in the center floated a glowing sphere, the planetary core's control node. Ethan's mouth fell open. It was like standing before a star. Waiting near it was Alarin, the Serath overseer who had seen the strange energy readings the night before. She stepped forward gracefully, her eyes glowing with silver light. "Ethan Cross," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "We have observed an unusual event. The core reacted yesterday. Its energy changed pattern when you touched the conduit." "It recognized something." Ethan stared at her. "Recognized? I was just fixing a line. Maybe your system glitched." "No," Alarin replied softly. "The core does not glitch. It responds only to living connection." Her words made him uneasy. "What does that even mean?" Alarin motioned toward the sphere. "Come. We need to test something." Ethan stepped closer to the floating light. It was warm, so bright he had to shield his eyes. As he got nearer, the surface shimmered, sending soft ripples through the air. A strange vibration filled his chest, like a heartbeat matching his own. He stopped. "It's humming," he whispered. The Serath in the room exchanged looks. None of them had ever heard the core hum before. "Touch it," Alarin said quietly. Ethan hesitated. "Is it safe?" Her glowing eyes softened. "For you, it seems to be." Taking a slow breath, Ethan reached out. His rough human hand met the smooth surface of the core. The moment he touched it, a wave of light burst through the chamber, spreading warmth and sound like a breath of life. The core pulsed once, twice, then steadied into a calm golden glow. The Serath gasped. Their skin patterns flickered with shock. Alarin stepped forward, whispering in awe. "It responds to you, like you're part of it." Ethan pulled his hand back quickly, heart racing. "I didn't do anything. I swear, I just touched it." The glow faded slightly but didn't disappear. It almost felt like the core was waiting, listening. Ilarin looked at him with a strange expression, something between curiosity and reverence. "The core is ancient. It was built by those who came before us, long before the Serath or humans existed. It guides the planet, gives energy, and holds memory. But it has never reacted to any being like this. You are different," Ethan frowned. "Different? I'm just human. I fix things, that's all." "Perhaps that is why," she said softly. "You still think in touch, not code. You still feel what you work with." Her words made him pause. On Earth, people had called him old-fashioned for using his hands, for fixing things himself, instead of letting machines do it. Here, among beings who seemed beyond emotion, maybe that simple human trait was what made him stand out. Ilarin turned to the other Serath scientists. "Prepare more tests. Keep him under observation." Then she looked back at Ethan. "Do not fear. We mean you no harm. But from this moment your work has changed." Ethan swallowed hard. "Changed how?" "You will assist us in studying the core. You may be the key to understanding what it wants." He felt a shiver run through him. "What it wants?" Ilarin nodded slowly. "The core is alive, Ethan Cross, and for reasons we do not yet understand. It has chosen you." Ethan stood there speechless. He wanted to laugh, to deny it, but deep inside he knew something had happened. When he touched that light, he hadn't just seen brightness, he had felt something. A warmth that wasn't from heat. a whisper that wasn't from sound. As he left the chamber under the watchful eyes of the Serath, Ethan felt both fear and wonder blooming inside him. For the first time in his life, the world, this alien world, was looking at him not as a tool or a stranger, but as something important. Ethan Cross didn't sleep that night. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling as the soft glow from the city seeped through his window. His hand still tingled from where he had touched the core. He could almost feel its pulse in his veins, faint but steady, like something inside him had woken up. He had always been a man of logic. Machines were simple. They broke, you fixed them, and they worked again. But the core wasn't a machine. It was something alive, something aware. That thought both scared and fascinated him. The next morning a message arrived. Report to the core chamber. Overseer Alarin awaits. When Ethan entered, the chamber looked different. The great sphere of light glowed softly in the center, surrounded by crystal panels showing streams of alien symbols. Alarin stood beside it, waiting, her calm face unreadable. Good morning, human Ethan, she greeted. Today we continue the observation. You will attempt to communicate. Ethan blinked. Communicate with that? It doesn't even talk. Alarin's eyes shimmered faintly. Perhaps not in words. The core understands energy, emotion. You humans are full of both. He gave a small laugh. Yeah, we've got plenty of that. She nodded once. Then begin. Place your hand on it again. Think. Whatever comes naturally. Ethan took a slow breath and stepped closer. The core radiated a warm golden light that felt almost like sunlight on his skin. When he touched it, that warmth spread through him again. Soft, comforting, almost human. He closed his eyes and thought. He didn't know what to say to a planet's heart, so he spoke from his own. I'm not from here, he thought. I don't belong, but I'm trying to help. That's all I've ever wanted, the core responded. The light brightened and a low hum filled the air, deep and rhythmic. The nearby instruments spiked in readings and the Serath scientist gasped. Alarin's glow flickered with wonder. It reacts to your feelings, she said softly. It understands you. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. It's warm, he said, voice trembling. Like it's alive and lonely. Lonely? Alarin repeated, tilting her head. The core is ancient. It has never shown emotion. Ethan looked at her, then back at the light. Maybe it never had anyone who could listen. For a moment, no one spoke. The core's hum grew quieter, more peaceful, as if agreeing. From that day forward, Ethan was assigned to the core chamber full-time. He spent hours there every day, touching the light, speaking softly, thinking thoughts of kindness, curiosity, and empathy. He didn't understand why it responded to him, but he could feel the bond growing stronger. Sometimes he saw flashes in his mind, images that weren't his. A planet forming under starlight, oceans of glowing water, cities rising and falling. It was as if the core was showing him memories. When he told Alarin, she looked at him with quiet awe. You are not only communicating, she said. You are sharing, he frowned. Sharing what? Connection, she said softly. A bridge between life and machine, between feeling and function. Ethan smiled faintly. So you're saying the core likes me? Her lips curved into what might have been a small smile. Perhaps it remembers you. He laughed quietly, but part of him wondered if she was right. The more time Ethan spent near the core, the more the Serath noticed something else. The chamber's light grew warmer, the city's power became more stable, and strange energy readings spread across Velara. Wherever the human went, systems seemed to improve. Machines that had been dormant for centuries began to hum softly again. But not everyone was pleased. Some Serath scientists grew uneasy. The human changes the core, one whispered. If it links too deeply, what happens when he leaves or dies? Alarin silenced them for now, but even she couldn't deny her concern. Still, when she watched Ethan sitting before the core, talking softly, his human warmth filling the cold chamber, something stirred inside her. For the first time in her long life, she felt emotion. That night, as Ethan was leaving, Alarin stopped him at the doorway. Human Ethan, she said quietly, do you feel different? He nodded slowly. Yeah, like it's inside me now. Not in a bad way. Just connected. It's strange, but I don't feel alone anymore. Alarin studied him for a moment, her silver eyes glowing faintly. Perhaps that is what the core has sought for centuries. Someone who could remind it what it means to be alive. Ethan smiled softly. Then I guess we both needed each other. As he walked away, The core pulsed once, stronger than ever, sending a gentle warmth through the entire city. Far above, in the crystal towers, Serath citizens paused, looking toward the horizon where the golden light spread like dawn. They didn't know why, but they felt something new that night, something ancient and forgotten. Hope. And at the center of it all stood one human, hands rough, heart open, unknowingly awakening a sleeping world. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's bond with the core grew stronger. He could feel it now, even when he wasn't near the chamber. Sometimes at night, lying in his small quarters, he'd hear a soft hum in the back of his mind, steady, calm, almost like a heartbeat calling to him across the city. It was strange, but comforting. The Serath scientists continued to study him closely. Every touch, every emotional response, every pulse of energy was recorded. They called it the human connection experiment. Ethan didn't like being treated as a subject, but Ilaran always spoke gently, assuring him that it was for the good of Velara. He trusted her. Among the cold, logical Serath, she was the only one who looked at him with warmth. One morning when Ethan arrived at the chamber, he noticed something different. The core's glow was brighter, almost too bright. The golden light flickered like fire, and a deep vibration filled the air. It wasn't calm anymore, it felt restless. Ilaran was already there, her face tense. She didn't greet him as usual. Instead, she was staring at the control panel, her long fingers dancing across the glowing symbols. "The core's energy has increased by 20% overnight," she said quietly. "It hasn't done that in thousands of years." Ethan frowned. "Is that bad?" She hesitated. "We do not know. It could be awakening, or it could be breaking." He stepped closer to the core. The moment he did, the light flared even brighter, filling the chamber with a golden glow. The floor trembled slightly, and all the instruments around them started beeping wildly. "Ilaran," Ethan called out. She turned sharply. "Step back, Ethan. The core is unstable." But he didn't. Something inside him told him not to move. The core wasn't angry, it was scared. He could feel it like a trembling heartbeat under his skin. "It's not trying to hurt us," he said softly. "It's calling for help." Ilaran looked stunned. "Help from you?" He nodded. "It's afraid of being alone again." Ilaran stared at him in silence. Her kind rarely spoke of emotions. They had long learned to hide such things. Yet looking at the human standing before the glowing core, she felt something she didn't understand. The Serath scientists began to argue in the background. Some wanted to shut the core down before it overloaded. Others warned that disconnecting it could destroy the entire city. And in the middle of their panic stood Ethan, calm and steady, his eyes fixed on the living light before him. He took a step closer. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm still here." Instantly, the energy reading stabilized. The vibrations softened and the golden glow turned peaceful again. Everyone in the room froze. Ilaran looked at the screen, speechless. It listened to you." Ethan smiled faintly. "I told you, it's alive." But even as he said it, he felt something shift deep inside him. The warmth from the core was stronger than ever, almost too strong. His chest ached, and for a moment his vision blurred. He stumbled back slightly, gripping the railing for support. Ilaran rushed to him. "Ethan, are you hurt?" He shook his head. "I'm fine. It feels like it's sharing something with me. Like it's pushing emotions into my head." "What kind of emotions?" she asked softly. He hesitated. "Loneliness, pain, a kind of endless waiting. It's been alive for so long, and it just wanted someone to see it." Ilaran's eyes glowed faintly with sadness. "You speak of it like it's a person." "Maybe it is," Ethan said. "Maybe it's more human than we think." After that day, the High Council of Velara grew concerned. They ordered Ilaran to limit Ethan's contact with the core. "The human is destabilizing it," they warned. "If he continues, the core may destroy itself, and us with it." Ilaran tried to argue, but their decision was final. She met Ethan that evening in his quarters to deliver the news. "They want you to stay away," she said softly. "Just for a while, until we understand more." Ethan looked at her in disbelief. "Stay away? You've seen what happens when I leave, it fades. The core needs me." "It is too dangerous," she said. "If you continue, you could die." He gave a tired smile. "If I walk away and everything collapses, what difference does it make? I can't just sit and do nothing, Ilaran, not when I know it's alive." For a moment she looked at him with something that almost looked like pain. "You are a strange being, Ethan Cross," she whispered. You risk your life for something that cannot even speak. He smiled faintly. Maybe that's what makes me human. That night, alarms echoed through the city. The core had begun to pulse violently again, sending waves of light through every street. Buildings trembled and the sky turned gold. Alarin ran to the window and saw the glow reaching the clouds. Her heart sank. Only one thought crossed her mind. Ethan. She knew exactly where he was going. The city of Villara was in chaos. The golden light from the core shot into the skies like fire, spreading through the crystal towers and shaking the ground. The air itself felt alive, too alive, buzzing with unstable energy. Alarms echoed in every direction as Serath citizens fled toward the outer domes. Inside the high chamber, Ethan ran against the flow. While everyone was escaping, he was heading straight for the core. His lungs burned, his heart pounded, but he didn't stop. He could feel it. The core was calling to him again, stronger than ever before. "Ethan, stop!" A voice shouted behind him. Alarin appeared at the corridor's entrance, her usual calm replaced with fear. Her silver eyes glowed brightly, reflecting the golden chaos outside. "You can't go in there. It's collapsing." He turned, panting. "If it collapses, the whole planet dies. You said it yourself. The core is Villara's heart. I can't just let it die. You'll be killed," she pleaded. Ethan looked at her, his eyes steady despite the tremor in his hands. "Then I die trying to save something that trusted me." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Alarin stepped closer, her voice breaking the silence. "Why do you care so much?" "You owe this world nothing." Ethan smiled faintly. "Maybe I do. Maybe everyone deserves a chance to be understood, even something made of light." Before she could reply, he turned and ran into the chamber. The door sealed behind him. The core chamber was a storm of blinding light. Cracks spread across the crystal walls and pieces of the ceiling rained down in glowing shards. The great sphere pulsed violently, its golden hue shifting to fierce white. The sound was deafening, a mixture of thunder and heartbeat. Ethan shielded his face and stepped closer. Each pulse sent a wave of energy through him, knocking him to his knees. The air was hot, alive with electricity, but beneath all that chaos he could still feel it, the same desperate emotion as before. Fear. The core wasn't trying to destroy Villara. It was crying out. Ethan forced himself forward one step at a time. His hands shook as he reached the railing. "Hey!" he shouted over the roar. "I'm here." "You're not alone." The light flashed brighter, almost blinding him. Images filled his head, visions of the past. He saw the first Serath shaping the core, binding their world's life into it. He saw centuries of silence, of the core watching civilizations rise and fall. He felt its pain, the loneliness of being eternal, unseen, unheard. And then he saw himself, a human with trembling hands, touching it for the first time. A flicker of connection, a heartbeat. The truth hit him like lightning. The core didn't need fixing, it needed feeling. It was alive, but it had forgotten what it meant to be alive. "Listen to me," Ethan cried, pushing closer as the floor cracked beneath him. "You're not alone anymore. You're not forgotten." He stumbled forward and placed both hands on the glowing surface. Pain shot through his arms, but he didn't move. The energy poured into him, wild and endless, yet somehow familiar. He could feel its thoughts like echoes, fear, confusion, longing. "I know," he whispered, his voice shaking. "I know how it feels. I was alone too. I thought I didn't belong anywhere. But maybe we were both wrong." The core's light began to shift, the wild flares calming slightly. The hum softened, becoming slower, deeper, steadier. The brightness around him dimmed to gold again, wrapping him in warmth. Alarin's voice came faintly through the chamber's communicator. "Ethan, what's happening?" He smiled weakly, pressing his forehead to the glowing sphere. "It's listening," he said softly. It just needed someone to understand. But even as he spoke, his body trembled. The core's energy was flowing through him like a river of fire. He could feel it drawing strength from him, stabilizing itself by using his life force. "Ethan, get out," Alarin shouted. "You're dying." He shook his head, eyes closed. "It's okay. This is what I came here for." He felt peace wash over him, a quiet, deep peace. The core's light surrounded him completely now, lifting him off the ground. He wasn't afraid. Inside that golden glow, he felt connected not just to the core but to everything. The city, the stars, even the Serath outside who had once ignored him. He whispered one last time, voice soft but certain, You're alive. Keep living. Keep feeling. And then everything went silent. The blinding light filled the chamber, spilling out into the city, sweeping across Velara like a sunrise. The tremors stopped. The air grew still. The core pulsed once, gentle and calm, then settled into a steady rhythm, glowing brighter than it ever had before. When Alarin and the others finally opened the chamber doors, all they found was golden dust floating in the air. Ethan was gone, but the core's hum carried a faint echo, a heartbeat, steady and human. Alarin fell to her knees, tears glowing silver against her cheeks. For the first time in Serath history, one of them cried, because the human who no one believed in had just saved their entire world. The golden light that swept across Velara didn't fade for hours. It danced across the towers, rivers, and crystal spires, wrapping the city in a warmth the Serath had never felt before. When it finally softened, the silence that followed felt holy. Alarin stood in the core chamber, her silver eyes still wet with tears. The air was calm again, shimmering with faint motes of light that drifted gently like golden snow. At the center, the core pulsed steadily, alive, serene, and glowing brighter than ever before. But Ethan was gone. She stepped closer, trembling. "You're stable now," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Because of him." For a long time, she just stood there listening to the slow heartbeat of the core. Then something strange happened. The golden light shimmered softly, pulsing in rhythm to her breathing, and through that sound, faint but unmistakable, came a voice. It was Ethan's voice. "Don't cry, Elle." Alarin froze. Her heart stopped. She looked around, her voice shaking. "Ethan, where are you?" "Right here," the voice said gently. "I'm still here." Her breath caught. The realization hit her like a wave. He hadn't vanished, he had become part of the core itself. His body was gone, but his mind, his heart, his essence was still alive, intertwined with Velara's life force. "You merged with it," she whispered. "You became the core." "Guess I've finally found my purpose," Ethan replied, his voice soft but warm. "I can feel everything now, Elle, the city, the people, the light, it's all connected. It's beautiful." Alarin fell to her knees. "You saved us all," she said, tears streaming again. "But we lost you." There was silence for a moment, then Ethan spoke again. "No, you didn't lose me. You just have to listen differently now." In the following days, the change in Velara was undeniable. The core's energy spread gently across the city, healing broken systems and restoring balance to the unstable environment. Plants bloomed in the gardens again. The rivers glowed faintly at night. The storms that had once struck unpredictably now followed calm cycles, and the Serath themselves began to feel something they had never experienced before. Emotion. At first it confused them. They didn't understand the tightness in their chests or the warmth in their hands when they spoke to each other. But as days passed, they realized it was what Ethan had tried to show them: empathy, connection, the power of feeling. Alarin led the effort to study the change. She recorded every new behavior, every spark of compassion that appeared in her people. When a young Serath child cried because his friend was hurt, Alarin smiled through her tears. That had never happened before. "This is his doing," she said quietly to the council. "Ethan's presence in the core, it's teaching us what it means to feel." Some of the elders resisted. "Human emotion is weakness," one of them said sharply. "We have survived for centuries through logic." Alarin turned toward him, her gaze firm but gentle. "And what did that logic bring us? A dying world and an empty heart. Ethan didn't save us because of logic. He saved us because he cared." Her words silenced the room. That night, Alarin returned alone to the core chamber. The light was softer now, like the glow of a candle. She placed her hand on the golden surface and closed her eyes. "Ethan," she whispered, "they're starting to understand." His voice came back, faint but smiling. "Good, they deserve that. All of you do." "You changed everything," she said, her throat tight. "You changed me. You changed me first," he replied gently. "When I came here, I thought I was just another human. Lost, useless. But you gave me a chance to belong. You made me believe I had something to give." Alarin pressed her forehead against the core, tears glistening. "You had more than something, Ethan. You had a heart strong enough to awaken a whole world." For a while, there was only silence and the slow hum of energy. Then Ethan's voice came again, softer now. "Elle, promise me something." "What?" Promise you'll keep teaching them. Don't let them forget what this feeling means, I promise, she whispered. The core glowed brighter for a moment, a pulse of warmth that wrapped around her like a gentle embrace. Then for the first time since that day, she smiled, because she realized that Ethan hadn't just become part of Velara's core. He had become its heart. Many years passed on Velara. The once cold and distant world now glowed with gentle life. The cities were brighter, the skies calmer, and the Serath were no longer beings of pure reason. They laughed, they cried, they felt. At the center of it all still stood the core, golden and steady, its light softer than before, like the beating heart of a living world. Every Serath knew what had saved them. Every child was taught the story of the human named Ethan, who gave his life to make their world whole again. Ilaran stood by the core chamber balcony, looking down at the city below. It was morning, and the sunlight shimmered through the crystal towers, scattering golden hues across the streets. Children of the new generation played in the plazas, their silver skin gleaming, their laughter echoing across the valley. She smiled faintly. "You'd love to see this, Ethan," she whispered. The core pulsed once, slow and warm. The Serath had changed more deeply than anyone could have imagined. Their art, once geometric and empty, now carried emotion, paintings of suns, rivers, and faces smiling in wonder. Their music, once mathematical tones, now flowed like songs of the heart. They began calling themselves the people of two lights, one of crystal and one of heart. And every year, on the day Velara was saved, they gathered in the Great Hall of Harmony, a massive chamber filled with golden glass that reflected the core's glow. There, they sang songs written in both Serath and human language, songs about connection, courage, and sacrifice. Ilaran had aged, though time moved differently for the Serath. Her hair, once shimmering silver, now carried faint streaks of gold, a mark the healers could not explain. Some whispered that it was Ethan's touch, that the core had left part of his essence in her, but she didn't speak of it. She simply continued her work, teaching empathy, guiding the new generations, and visiting the core every evening as she always did. One quiet night, she returned to the chamber. The room was empty except for the golden glow filling the air. She placed her hand gently on the core. "Ethan," she said softly, "it's been 30 years. For a moment nothing happened. Then the core pulsed and his voice came, faint, tired, but still warm and familiar. 30 years already. Time feels different in here." Ilaran laughed softly, tears forming in her eyes. "You sound the same. And you sound older," Ethan teased gently. "But you sound happy," she smiled. "I am, they all are. You'd be proud of them. The children talk about kindness like it's something sacred. The elders finally understand what it means to care. We even have an art festival every year." "Art festival?" he said with amusement. "I wish I could see that." Ilaran closed her eyes, resting her forehead on the warm surface. "You see everything now, don't you?" There was silence for a long time, then Ethan's voice softened. "Yes, and I feel it too. Every smile, every act of kindness, it reaches me. It's like the whole world is breathing with me. You kept your promise, Elle." Her tears fell freely now. "You gave them life, Ethan, and you gave me something too. You showed me what it means to love." The core glowed brighter, wrapping her in gentle warmth. "And you showed me what it means to belong," he said quietly. "Even if I'm not human anymore, I'll always be me. And I'll always be here." When Ilaran finally passed from the world of the living, the Serath built a monument beside the core. It was simple, a tall crystal figure of two hands touching, one Serath and one human. Beneath it were engraved words in both languages. "He gave his heart to light our world." For generations afterward, the Serath continued to evolve, not just in knowledge but in spirit. They reached the stars again, not as conquerors or cold explorers, but as friends seeking connection. And wherever they went, they carried the story of Ethan, the human who taught them to feel. When they finally met other humans centuries later, the Serath bowed in greeting. The human ambassador was confused. "Why are you bowing?" he asked. The Serath leader smiled, her golden eyes glowing softly. "Because one of your kind saved our world and became our heart. Every Serath child grows up saying his name." The ambassador blinked in awe. "What name?" The leader looked up at the stars and whispered, "Ethan." At that moment, the core on Velara pulsed faintly, as if hearing from across the void. Its light shimmered through the skies, reaching even the orbiting ships. Some say it was just an energy surge. Others believe it was Ethan, still watching, still caring. His spirit intertwined with the living world he loved, and so, the legend of the human among aliens lived on, not as a story of power or conquest, but as proof that even in the farthest corners of the galaxy, one heart filled with kindness could change an entire civilization. The Serath no longer saw humanity as fragile or simple. They saw them as something far greater, the beings who taught the stars how to feel.